Hello, everyone. Welcome back on Conversations Unplugged. I'm in conversation with Daisy Varun, and we are talking about another very important topic today. So, if you watched our last episode, we discussed about this very, very important belief that a lot of us grow up with, which was around I'm not enough. And how that belief shapes our behaviors, what it does to us, and how does it literally stop us from living our fullest and complete life. And as Daisy shared last time, it's important to just embrace all parts of ourselves, all the feelings that comes up, any shadows that we have, just embracing all of it helps us to live complete and live whole. So we thought that we'll pick that topic a little bit more because we did talk about feelings and emotions as we were discussing I'm not enough. And we would like to just spend a little more time to explore emotions, feelings, the difference between that. How does it shape us? What does childhood have to do with how we start dealing with emotions as we become adults? And then a little bit about, does it even impact the choices that we make or the decisions that we take in our day-to-day life? So we will do all of that as we explore this very important topic about emotions in the next 30 odd minutes. So before I ask my question to Daisy and we kickstart this episode, this is a beautiful book that I came across, which is called Atlas of the Heart. This is by Brené Brown. And both Daisy and I, we are in love with this book.
In love.
Yeah. It's our go-to book. It's our Bible. And if Brené Brown someday watches this episode of mine and ours, then I would really like to thank her for putting this down because it just talks about emotions in a very, very simplified language. It sets up a framework and it just gives us those steps of how it's okay to feel what we are feeling and what do we do about it as we move forward. So to kickstart, there is no other way than to read something from this book. Is that okay, Daisy? Can we do that?
Absolutely, more than welcome, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read a few lines from this book, and let's see what comes up for all of us as we are listening to these lines. So in her preface, she says, "This is what I thought I believed when I was a child, and this is what I continue to think as I've grown up and become an adult. People will do almost anything to not feel pain, including causing pain and abusing power. Very few people can handle being held accountable without rationalizing, blaming, or shutting down. And without understanding how our feelings, thoughts, and behaviors work together, it's almost impossible to find our way back to ourselves and each other. When we don't understand how our emotions shape our thoughts and decisions, we become disembodied from our own experiences and disconnected from each other." Wow.
So beautifully and simply explained.
Right? So, Daisy, tell us more about what comes to you as you hear these lines by Brené Brown.
It's like the testimony to human behavior, human life, like we will do anything to not feel pain, to not take ownership, to justify, to blame. And nowadays, I've been into a lot of MDPs lately, back to back. And one of the biggest issues that both sides complain about, the bosses complain about the same and the subordinates complain about the same, and it's about ownership
Hmm.
and responsibility and accountability. And all of this is about, owning up your emotion or owning up your behavior, owning up your action. And we are so scared of owning up things,
Wow.
whether it is in a work scenario or in a home scenario. Nobody wants to own up.
So,
And this
what
is
is,
where,
I'll just, interrupt you there. What's
no
stopping us
worries.
from owning up? Like, what do you think is happening because of which we are so scared of taking responsibility?
So we can't compartmentalize things, is how I understand it. I may be wrong. I mean, I'm only, we are only talking one person's opinion
Yeah.
here. So it is, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. I may have my own understanding of things, and they may not sit well with everybody. But why we don't own things is it's tied to what we spoke the last time, the self-worth.
Hmm.
If you're not confident enough, if you don't feel worthy enough, if your sense of me lies in the hands of others, you will never be able to own up, because then there'll be so many asterisks to it. Terms and conditions apply. So if I own it up, what will this person say? How will this person behave? How will this person react? So you're constantly thinking from other people's perspective. You never think from your own perspective, is why you don't own up. You know, a subordinate not owning up to his mistake is because he's scared. What will the boss think? What will my peers think? Similarly, at home, a child does not, and we are taught like that, you know. Again, like last time you said, parenting is a huge thing in shaping up people. So when something goes wrong, how do you treat the child? I'll give you an example. In most houses, they don't let children handle glassware. So everybody will be drinking in glasses of glassware, and this child will be given a glass or a tumbler made of steel or plastic or something like that. So once I was visiting a friend of mine, and she had a very young daughter, 1.5 year maybe, and she gave her a small glass juice in a typical glass material. You know, when we say glass, all tumblers for us are glass. So I'll use
Yeah.
it. I'll use that distinction: tumbler and a glass. So when I say glass, it is glassware. Okay.
Glass. Yeah.
So my first instinct was, oh, give it to her in a different tumbler. She said, why? I said, she might drop it. She said, so what? And in that moment, something changed in my head. I said, if she drops it, she'll hurt herself. She said, no, she won't hurt herself. First of all, she won't drop it. Secondly, if she drops it, she won't hurt herself. And she happily went about doing her stuff. She gave me tea and whatever. And you won't believe, till that little girl finished her glass of juice, my eyes were stuck on her. I was just constantly vigilant. And this girl happily finished her juice, went to the kitchen, pulled her mama's dupatta, handed the glass over to mom, came back and switched on whatever TV cartoon she was watching, and she continued watching her TV. So for me, it was such an eye opener that, you know, how we deal with children at that age tells them how to go about it. So then I asked my friend after that, what if she had dropped? So she gave me a whole piece of her mind, the entire spiel on, you know, you don't feed that in first of all. And if she drops, it's just an accident. Anybody can drop a glass. So can a child. I would have wiped her clean. I would have wiped the floor clean. I would have thrown the glass away. I would have taken a new glass and given her another, you know, glass of juice.
Yeah.
It was so simple for my friend. And that's when I understood why we don't take ownership. Because we are not taught. And somewhere in that conversation, she said that my daughter knows that, you know, it's a delicate thing and she needs to hold it carefully. So the instruction was already given to the child that this is delicate, hold it carefully, don't keep it anywhere else, hand it over back to mama. So, you know, how we are directing the child gives that kind of, now the child knows, cannot keep it somewhere. Have to go, give it, hand over to mama. And that's why she went to the kitchen, tugged at her mama's dupatta and gave it back to her. So how are we grooming from that age decides a lot of things for us. And taking ownership also comes from there. Children, tumne aisa kyun kiya? You did this wrong. So the kind of rejection, scolding, blame that children see at a young age makes them defensive already. Okay, not my fault, not my, you know, so don't really ask me, don't blame me, don't do this, don't do that. So I'm trying to protect myself through and through, and that's why we don't take ownership.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Can you imagine a subordinate makes a mistake and a boss says, yeah, that's okay, that's all right, it happens, next time do it like this? I don't think it'll happen, at least not in the Indian scenario. I can't say about others, but in the Indian scenario, mostly the egos run so high, the power distance is so high. I know of organizations where if you don't call them sir, even as an external consultant, if I call him Mr. Bhardwaj, he'll get really upset. He needs to be called sir. You know, so power distances are so high in India. There's so many things that happen in India, typical Indian culture. So there's a lot of cultural input also that goes into it. In another country, it's okay to maybe call somebody by their even first name, let alone Mr. Bharat, call somebody Sunil. But in India, you can't really do that. Sunil Ji. That's how fragile the egos are. So I think a lot of this contributes to why we are not able to. I hope I've answered your question. That's how I
Yes.
see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm not on video because electricity just went off. So we're going to continue recording and I'll come back on screen once the electricity is back. So,
As
okay,
you say.
it's back. Oh, this happens when
Happy to
we're
see you
doing
back.
live. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
it's all right.
So you did such a fantastic job of answering that question, Daisy. And the three key things which are standing out for me. One is how we treated as kids, shape how we are seen or how we are being as adults, right? And
Absolutely.
what you said about, in fact, I remember when you're talking about that instance of giving a glass or a tumbler, whenever there's a small kid who comes to my place, I offer her in a tumbler or that child in a tumbler because the default instinct is it'll break
It's not
or
instinct, it's conditioning.
it's conditioning. Yeah, I think that's the right word, how we are conditioned. And these are also that implicit biases that
Yes,
are
yes.
formed, all through our childhood. So how we are conditioned during our childhood, what we have seen, and I can relate it back to when kids came to our house and how we gave them in tumblers. So probably that's where I picked it from. So one is that, of how we are treated as kids, how we are conditioned as kids. And the second is, yeah, from a culture perspective, just not being given that space to
Yes,
be ourselves, to make those
yes,
mistakes, to take risks. And
yes.
especially in the corporate world, we then go and ask our people, why are you not taking risks? Why are you not doing things that have never been done before? Here's
Yes,
the answer.
yes. Here's the answer.
Right, so wow, so we've unlaid or peeled off one big reasons of why the corporate India today is also feeling that lack of effective decision makers, lack of effective risk takers. Is that
Not
so?
taking decision is the biggest laggard in our system, whether it is bureaucracy, whether it is even in private sector. If you see, decisions are so slow. This is most of the times they wait for validation. I was doing this very senior intervention. An organization here has been taken over by an organization in Netherlands. Perhaps it's a renewable energy organization, and the HODs here were even when I asked them what are the challenges they are facing, can you believe one of the complaints they brought up was that our policies don't allow us to travel and have a single room to ourselves. I said, but you are the HODs, you changed the policy, right? They said, no, we have to wait for them to change the policy. An HOD, a VP is telling you that I can't book a separate room for myself because my parent company will have to take care of a decision I make here. So, how does it work?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's so sad. It's so sad, right? And I guess that also leads to we all of us being more yes people, not
Yes,
being able to say no, not being able to ask questions, being silent in important discussions. We all want to be with the crowd. It's so difficult to stand out because what will people say? I think that's what you
what will
said.
people say? The judgment, the fear of judgment.
Judgment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's very, very important. Now,
Another thing that the
yeah.
word judgment brings me to is that, it's a misnomer. Lately, like I said, a lot of toxic positivity has come into the system.
Mm.
A lot of these, untrue things have come into the system. A lot of falsity has been popularized. Non-judgment has been popularized. Now tell me, a human being, a living being, not just a human being, a living being is DNA'd for judgment. Most people don't understand that. Even to walk 10 steps, you have to judge whether the ground is smooth, whether it is, bumpy, whether your foot, when you put your foot 1 foot forward, would you be able to maintain your balance? Your mind is doing all of that so sharply. You don't even come to know. You cross the street, you're judging, no? The vehicle is coming,
Yeah.
what speed the vehicle is coming, will I be able to cross the road or not? You're constantly judging. You are DNA'd for judgment. I'm DNA'd for judgment. We are all DNA'd for judgment. But somebody brought in non-judgment. Now the whole world is with, a bated breath, closed eyes, sitting, waiting to reach that nirvana where there will be no judgment. Hello? Continue to wait, please.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
this
a
is
very unique perspective.
live with judgment.
Yeah.
Live with judgment. Live with the fact that if, like you and I are talking, do you think our listeners are not judging us? They are judging everything. Oh, इसने सर ऐसे घुमाया, इसने ये बात बोली. This girl, this one is confident, this one is not confident, this one is smarter in her communication, this one is not. They're constantly comparing, even between you and me. We are being compared right now, right here, as listeners are listening to us.
Yeah.
Now, and thankfully, we come from a place where we are accustomed to taking a lot of feedback. So even if people start trolling us on this one, maybe we'll take it as feedback. And
Yeah.
but you see, the biggest problem with youngsters today is getting trolled on Instagram because they can't take that judgment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
judgment will happen. Learn to live with it. That's a simple thing, the simplest of all. And not all judgment will be in your favor. It's fine. And even before that, are you waiting for that? Is your being dependent on that judgment? If somebody says, "Oh, Daisy doesn't know anything," and she's just blabbering. Fair enough. I know what I know. I know what I don't know, and I don't know what I don't know. So I know all three stages of me.
Yeah.
There's so much to know in the world. Maybe I don't know everything, but so far in life, in 47, 48 years, 47 years, this is what I know. So, okay, I don't need your validation to know what I know.
Hmm.
If you can come to that point where you don't need validation from others, that's when you'll be able to own things.
Yeah.
That's when you'll be able to say, okay, this is what I know, this is what I do, this is what I say, and I take ownership of that. I may be wrong, I'm willing to correct myself. But so far, this is the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Not needing validation from others. How important is that? And to our viewers and to our audience, I must say that it looks easier when we say it, but it's a work, it's a process, it's a it's a constant awareness of being in that space where you still do what you have to do with the knowledge of who you are, what you know, what you don't know, and let the world say what they're saying. Because like Daisy said, judgment sometimes also works in our favor. We are safe because of judgment. We are safe. We are not running into accidents because we can judge where my car is going and how far can I take it and how is the road ahead, all of that stuff. So beautiful. I think that's a very unique perspective and such a big learning for me as well. And what I constantly hear when I talk to you, Daisy, is that be open to what is there. There's no point denying or wanting to reach a certain state to feel a certain way, but just be where you are and feel what you're feeling, and what is happening around you, let it happen.
That's how
Simple.
I've lived so far. So that's all I know of.
That sounds very simple. It could be like the best philosophy to live our life with, because it gives us that freedom to just be.
And honestly, Deepa, when you say that sounds simple and may not be, I understand it may not be. But for me personally, it has been the only thing that I've known. So I've never struggled with validation. I've never struggled with um, other people's opinion of me, unless otherwise it's a very deep relationship. Like, for example, if it is between me and my mother, then sometimes it bothers me. If it is between me and my child, then sometimes it bothers me. If it is between me and man, then sometimes it bothers me. But other than that, these are the three relationships in my life which are a part of my karmic journey. The way I look at it.
Yeah.
I have a bonding. All bonding is because of a bondage. That is, if you believe in the philosophy that I believe in. If you don't believe in it, don't go by this statement. But in my philosophy, the one that I believe in, that we are all carrying a lot of prarabdh is there, a lot of sanchit karma is there, a lot of past life um, checks and balances are there. So for me, it is important to know that the people who are the closest to me in my life, there is something that they are here to teach me, to give me, to from me. Those are relationships which are karmically bonded. So, all this karmic bond for me is very important. And that's why these are three places: my parents as in my mother, that adopted me, like I told you in the first one.
Yeah.
Because the other set of parents I hardly lived with, no, and they are no more. So there's no point looking for their validation whatsoever. So, but for my mother, what how she feels about our relationship now. It's not that I'm looking for validation, but if she thinks that I don't take care of her, or I don't bother about her, or I don't feel for her, that that puts me a little in a place where I want to rethink, where I want to reflect and say, what am I not doing right that my mother feels this way? My children, my daughter and my son, when they say, Mom, we have a complaint against you, that's when I think that, okay, where is it that I'm not being the mother I'm supposed to be? When my man tells me that you're not being the woman that I want you to be, that's when I sit back and think that, okay, where am I not doing the right thing, and where do I need to renegotiate? Even with my spousal relationship, that doesn't bother me that much as it's with my mother and my children. I don't know, it's in my head. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think with him, it's a lot of partnership. It's not 100% responsibility. But with my parent, it's 100% responsibility as a daughter. And with my child, it's 100% responsibility as a mother. But as a spouse, it's a partnership. It's a 50-50 thing. I can't be 100% wrong as a wife all the time. There must be something that, the other partner also has to do to balance out the relationship here. Ideally, it should be so between my mother and between my children also. But because I think that, she has done a lot for me, I can't be asking her to keep balancing things from her side, because 47 years she has given me. It's my time to say whether I'm giving back in the right proportion or not. And with my children, they're still children, they're still growing up. So I think I still take that responsibility a lot more than, making it a 50-50 between me and my children. So when I think of my world, where judgment matters, not even judgment, where their opinions, their emotions, their feelings, their responses to me matter, these are the three. And then, of course, if I'm working with someone, that's my ethical moral compass, that if I'm working with someone, if there's an agreement to deliver a certain output, I should be able to do that, because it's about my capability, it's about my credibility. I can't let that down. So that's where I feel take 100% responsibility. But I'm walking on the street and somebody passes a lewd remark, I'm not going to stand there and fight with the man. To hell with him, yeah. He can whistle, he can gesticulate, he can do whatever. It's not for me to bother about so many people around me all the time. I can't do that. I practically can't do that. I don't have the mental, emotional, psychological bandwidth for that. So for me, judgment matters only in that intimate circle of mine where I'm touched by other people's opinion. Otherwise, I'm fairly like the lotus leaf. I don't get touched. You can do whatever around me. I am pani padega or gir jayega. It's all right.
No, that's such a beautiful space to be in. But my experience and my personal experience as well, and a lot of people around me, as I talk to them, I realize it's not so easy. It comes with a lot of work. In fact, I live 45 years of my life trying to be the good girl, trying to be the woman who's trying to please everyone around, and it's real, because
it's real. I agree.
Yeah,
that's why I said I've been very lucky.
exactly.
When I look at my life, I think I've been so lucky. Maybe the way I've been made, something in my head is skewed differently. and that really holds me in a good space, and I'm grateful to God for that, because it has saved me a lot of heartburn that I see people going through.
Yeah. So yes, you are lucky, like we discussed, the parents that took care of you, and the environment that you were brought in. People were just making sure that you never feel not enough, because
I never feel not enough.
Exactly.
And all credit goes to them. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is real. And if one of our or if our audience feels that they are facing it, it's okay, because we all go through this. However, like Daisy, we are hearing from her, it is possible to reach a point where you don't necessarily need to bother about what people are saying. It's a journey. It will take time. It could just be an overnight shift. The same neural pattern which is in Daisy could just be in your head, and you could the next day realize, oh, I don't care, in the right sense. But it might take time. We don't know. It's your journey. So take the time.
We can at least become conscious and start grooming our kids differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not pass on the insecurities over to them, not pass on the fears over to them. Not maybe give them more self-worth than what we received from our environment. That's where I think a huge ownership comes in, that, what are we passing on to the next generation?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So we again, I think we've extended our topic of the self-worth, the self-esteem, the feeling of not being good enough, and what really brings us to that point. But going back to feelings and emotions, and from where we started this discussion,
Yes.
how do you differentiate these two? I
Feelings and
often
emotions?
use it, yeah, feelings and emotions. I often use them interchangeably, and I think it means different, right?
Yes, emotions are deeper than feelings. Feelings are fleeting. Emotion is deeper. For example, you love your spouse or you love your child. That's a deeper feeling. That is always there. No, even if you fight with your husband or your child, even if your child screams at you one fine day or you scream at your child, does the love change? So love is an emotion. E- Emotions have more constancy to them. Okay. Feelings will come and go, fleeting feelings. Okay. Um, Despite loving somebody deeply, I may feel disappointed in someone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in fact, they are inversely proportional or directly proportional. What would I say? Okay, the more deeply I love someone, the more deeply I can get disappointed in that person if he or she does something which I don't approve of. The person I don't love, I don't feel disappointed with. It's the person I love that I feel disappointed with, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
So what is that? Directly proportional, inversely
Directly
proportional? Directly
proportional.
proportional, right?
Directly proportional. Yeah.
So that's directly proportional. The deeper the feeling,
Yeah.
the emotion, the stronger the emotion, the deeper the feeling.
Yeah.
The stronger the emotion, the deeper the feeling. So that's one simpler way of creating that distinction. If we go more theoretically about it, emotions have been given as navrasas in our Shastra, whatever
Okay.
you eat. Okay. So there are 9 basic emotions, and those are emotions, those are deeply seated sense of perception that you have for the world. Um, I'm sorry, did we get this?
Yeah. So you were talking about the difference between emotion and feeling, and you said there are 9 emotions which
Base
govern.
emotions, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
can you talk
emotions
about
are
that?
basically
Hmm.
the deeper sense of perception and response. And there are 9 which have been given by most studies, whether they are ancient ones or the new ones. The new studies, I think the most popular is Robert Plutchik's Wheel of Emotion. And he gives about 8. He does not talk about 9. In our Navrasas, Shanti is one of the emotions. Okay. In Robert Plutchik's, peace is not one of the emotions, or anything of that sort is not a part of his emotional wheel. But the rest is pretty, you can put it together and map it. So the Navrasas and Robert's wheel, they can be superimposed and matched with each other. So when we talk about emotions, emotions are more constant, they are deeper, they are your primary tuning of perceiving and responding to the world. Feeling is one level, shallower than emotion, because it is not constant. You can't feel happy all the time. You can't
Ah,
feel sad, you can't feel um, anger for forever, sort of a thing. So yes, anger as an emotion is an emotion, but anger can be a feeling also, and that feeling has a different name. And that's why I want to show you something. So a lot of people don't know how how things work in
okay.
terms of emotion. And so let me give you a visual of human emotion and explain it from there. Maybe I'll be able to
Sure.
explain better. And I'm sharing directly from a website, and the
Yeah.
name of the website would also be there. You can see it.
Hmm.
Okay. And this is a bigger version of a more elaborate version of Plutchik's wheel. Who created this? I don't have the origin. A lot of people use it in their blogs, in their articles, in their own writing. But the who created this, I don't have that information with me right now. What you see in the innermost, that is emotion. Okay, so love is an emotion, fear is an emotion, anger, sadness, surprise, joy. all of this is an emotion. And if you go by Navrasas, Shringar, Ras hai,
Ah,
Raudra, Ras hai, Vibhats, Ras hai, Karuna, Ras hai, so all of those are here. Now, let's just go with love for a moment, okay? You see, when you feel love, there are so many. There's a romantic love, there's an affectionate love, there's a sentimental love. You're grateful, that's a part of love. You're enchanted, that's a part of love. Affectionate, you can further see, you can feel compassionate, you can feel warm-hearted. When you're romantic, you can feel passionate, you can feel enamored. Are you able to see how it is branching out? This is this one wheel. If you come to anger, you can feel enraged, you can feel exasperated, irritable, jealous, disgusted, and further. Jealousy is about being resentful, being envious. Which part is it? So envy is not that deep. Resentment is much deeper. Both fall under jealousy. Jealousy falls under anger. That's the connection. And whenever I'm doing an EQ training or EI training, this is the biggest takeaway that people take. They say, वो हमेशा कहते हैं, मैम हमें पता ही नहीं था हम इतने फीलिंग्स से गुजरते हैं हर दिन. और वो फीलिंग्स भी वर्ड नहीं यूज करते हैं. कहते हैं हमें पता ही नहीं था हम इतने इमोशंस से गुजरते हैं हर दिन. इतने इमोशंस नहीं है. इमोशंस तो सेंटर वाला व्हील है, जो कांस्टेंट वाला व्हील है. उसके अलावा जो आ रहा है जा रहा है वो सब फीलिंग्स है. And you're not hostile all the time, you're not hateful all the time. But anger as an emotion is seated here, and it will be activated the moment that window or that filter is needed to perceive and respond. That will get activated. That will give rise to the set of feelings that will come and go during that period where you are dealing with a situation that demands it. So these are the seeds. They are always there. So that's the difference in feelings and emotions. I hope I've been able to explain clearly with this image. You can Google it up. If you are able to see my screen, and the name of the website also is given there. But if you just write Wheel of Emotions, you'll get many versions of this. I use this version.
Okay. No, this is such a beautiful explanation. And I use this wheel as well. But I did not know the difference between the inner wheel and then as we move forward. So now I understand. And what you said initially also makes a lot of sense. Emotions are deep. They'll be there with you. Like these are the base, of human existence. And then feelings are fleeting. They will come and go. And okay, a question that arises for me here, Daisy, is could a constant feeling of a certain feeling lead to a certain emotion? Like when do we become moody, or when do we start being called as an angry person?
Moody, the emotion that we call moody is actually sadness.
Okay.
The moment we touch sadness, we say, "Arey, mera mood kharab ho raha hai." The moment we see somebody else in sadness, we say, "Isko to mood swings hote rehte hain." So the word mood we have associated, the way we have started using the word mood, moody, moodiness, it's all about sadness. So जब भी आप किसी को moody कहते हो, let's go to the sadness part of this here. So when you are sad, you feel hurt, unhappy, disappointed, shameful, lonely, gloomy. All of this is sadness. You're feeling gloomy, you'll say, "Arey, moody ho gaye." You're feeling alone, moody ho gaye. So the word moody has been interchanged with the emotion of sadness.
Okay. So as a, before we kind of wrap up our episode, what would you advise our audience to do, to understand their emotions and feelings? How can they use this wheel in their daily life to help them become more aware of their vocabulary, enhance their vocabulary around emotions, and become much more knowledgeable about how they are feeling?
You said it. That's it. Become aware. Become aware. And remember that emotions are always there. Emotions are a part of your making. Okay? So even a child, when you're born with this little chromosome that's called emotion. It's there. It knows how to recognize, perceive, and respond. When mother holds a child, the child perceives that touch. The child when you go kuchi going over a child, "Olli baba shona bacha," he can perceive. Okay? And that intelligence which is perceiving that shona bacha, olli baba, all the love, that intelligence is called emotion. And that's why Daniel Goleman talks about emotional intelligence. Emotions
Intelligence,
are a
yeah.
part of your innate intelligence.
Yeah.
You want to make it even better, please go and read Howard Gardner's Multiple Intelligences, because we haven't been, sometimes dissecting things to understand them better helps, but don't leave it compartmentalized. Bring it all back and synthesize it, synthesize all the information together. You'll get a complete picture of who you are. So when I say go read Howard Gardner's Multiple Intelligences, please don't come back judging yourself. Oh, I have this intelligence, I don't have that intelligence. He gives you about 8 different sort of natural intelligences that you carry, So just know that, okay, I have all of this in me, how rich I am. Can you imagine? You can feel all these emotions that you see on your skin. You actually do. It is just that you don't know how to name it. You don't know how to distinguish it. But gradually, as you become aware, you'll be able to distinguish it. And look at the richness of emotion and feelings that we go through in a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how beautiful it would be, how wise you will feel if you're able to distinguish between one and the other. And trust your natural intelligence to take you through whatever emotional ups and downs are happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we are using only 2% of our mind, brain, whatever you call it. 98% we don't use, and that 98% takes care of this.
Yeah, so time to explore, time to learn, time to enhance, time to accept, and
time to
just
surrender.
time to
So that
surrender.
98% of intelligence, which most people in spiritual language call higher self.
Yeah, so that's 98% of what we have still not explored.
Not explored.
Beautiful, beautiful. So this is such an important learning for our audience. And I learned something recently, which I want to tie to what you just shared so beautifully. So I was in a couple of sessions on nonviolent communication, NVC.
Yeah,
And
beautiful. Yes.
So what they are talking about there is also emotions and feelings as our natural responses, but also how they arise from a need that all of us have. Every emotion or a feeling that we feel is tied to a need. So if you're getting angry, there is a need which is unfulfilled. If you're extremely happy, there is a need which has been fulfilled for you, right? So, and I'm still attending those sessions, but it was a beautiful way to explore what this means. And there are very, very different philosophies. There are very, very different ways of handling things. We are just talking like a little bit of what we are aware of, but go and explore. And like Daisy says, don't leave it there, bring it back and make it whole for you. Because we are whole and complete anyways, whether you know something or you don't know something, we are whole, we are complete. We can live with that and yet explore the unexplored. So thank you so much, Daisy. That was such an enriching conversation. We started with emotions, feelings. We went into I am not enough. How does that get triggered? The feeling of commitment, ownership, why that is not happening, the conditioning, the bias, and finally we came to the wheel of emotions and how we all need to enhance our vocabulary around emotions and just be aware of what we're feeling.
Just be aware.
Thank you so much for being with us. Do you want to say something?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to thank you so much for listening to me. You make me feel so important. It's just one person's opinion and worldview that you are giving so much importance to. I'm grateful for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.